Hey family, it's Tasha, Mom Bear Prepping. So you already know what time it is. Get your cup, get your drink, pull up. We're about to talk about it. I'm bringing you, I think, an exciting topic. Hopefully, if you're new to the page, hopefully you like it here. So welcome back to everybody else. And what I want to talk about today is rationing, right? It's very easy to be like, hey, when things go left, we're going to ration. Like, what's your plan? What are you going to do? You've prepared, you have some things, no matter what quantity, whatever you were able to get, right? You're going to need to ration it, right? Doesn't matter if you have, 2 weeks, if you have 2 months, 2 years, you need to have a solid rationing plan. Now, what does that mean though, right? A lot of people are like, okay, rationing, what does that mean? First of all, either they don't know or they know, but they're like, how do you employ rationing? How do you do that? Yeah, I understand that it's cutting back on the food, right? To make it last longer, but really past that, not really knowing how you would go about doing that, right? It's a big feat actually, right? To be able to go from what we're doing now, which is pretty much free for all, making a meal, everybody gets their share. If there's leftovers, there's leftovers. Typically there is plenty for people to have some more if they want it. We're very accustomed to just cooking these big, huge meals, right? Oftentimes wasting a lot of it, you guys, right? And so you go from that and eating what you want, having your snacks and all the different things at your fingertips that you can just easily get, right? Like, oh, I'm craving this, I'm just going to go to the store and get it, right? You have the ability to do that. And so then you go from that to, not only do you not have all those snacks and all those things that we, eat throughout the day, the food has to be cut back in some capacity to make it last longer, right? And for some families, this is going to be extreme, because if you find yourself with hardly any food in the house, you're doing this in an extreme way right away, okay? Because the panic sets in and you realize, I don't know where the next meal is coming from, where the next amount of food is coming from, right? Some people won't even be paying attention and will just assume that even though they physically can see with their eyes what's going on, the panic buying, the stores are emptied, whatever, and they have hardly any food in their house, they're going to panic a little bit because they didn't have anything in the house, but they're going to lean on friends, family, however they can get that food, right? But I tell you what, they're still going to be thinking, okay, well, but it's going to come back. So all I have to do is kind of get through this small period of time, and then there'll be food that I can go get. And they're still not going to realize, like, what you should be planning from jump, that there's no more food coming back, like ever. That's what you should prepare for and plan for and expect. That way, in your mind, you're a little bit more extreme, not naive, just, oh, well, it will come back and I'll be fine. Okay. And hopefully that extremity will help you buckle down on what needs to be done. Okay. And this is an important topic that you talk up to your family. Like, hey, when this happens, we're going to employ rationing. This is what rationing looks like. This is what we're going to do. This is some ideas. Okay. So today I'm going to walk you through some different things that you can do to prepare for rationing. And also, going to give you a few tips. Okay. So, first thing I have is inventory and organize. So that's no biggie. That should be no surprise on this channel. You probably heard me say that a million times. Very, very important to start by inventorying what you have, or organizing what you have. So organizing, so you have all your pressure canned items together. You have all your soups together. You have all your canned meats together, canned vegetables, your fruits together. Everything is kind of where it makes sense to you. And it's stored so that you can always easily see, okay, that's how much oil I have. That's how much canned salmon I have, whatever it is, right? You need to be able to see that. And then you fill those holes, etc., etc. Now, and inventorying it, right? How much of stuff do you have so that you can, like I just said, fill those holes and have a starting point of what, how much food do you have, right? Do you have 2 weeks? Do you have 2 months? That's what you're trying to figure out when you do the whole process of organizing and inventory. Plus, when you organize it, you end up having way more space to hold stuff than when you just have it willy-nilly all over the house, okay? Next thing I have is get your rationing calendar together, okay? This is not so much your calendar of meals. I'm talking about a calendar of your game plan of what you plan to do. So I'm like, okay, calendar for the month. This is what we plan to do. We're going to have 3 times a week, we're going to do a shake for a meal replacement shake during 3 meals during the week. And you fill that in, right? Maybe you start the calendar off by saying, hey, right off the jump, we're only eating 2 meals a day, right? And if you've gotten those 2 meals a day, you've filled in those shakes for 3 of the days of the week, let's say, out of 7 days, you fill that in, right? Then you tell yourself maybe, okay, I'm going to write a note and say, we're only doing meat 4 times in a week, right? 4 of the meals, okay? So if you brought it down to 2 meals per day, right? That's 14 meals that you have to worry about. What are you in a week? Figure out, hey, we're going to say 3 meals or 4 meals are no meat, right? And so then later when you're working it out, you are doing less, right? You're backtracking with what you have, okay? Because hopefully you have plenty of staples, plenty of the fillers, right? Your potatoes, your pastas, your rice, your beans. You have plenty of that stuff, so that those extra things that you're kind of pulling back, you're implementing this stuff so that those other things don't go as fast, right? Those pleasures, right? Canned meat, for example, or pressure canned meat that you had, that's precious. So let's just say, for example, now I canned some pork, right? Some cubed pork. Love to pressure can cubed pork. It's so delicious. And I might take, I have different sizes, pint, quart, but let's say I'm making a big meal for the family. I take out the large quart size jar of that. That's quite a bit of meat. Now today, right, make some rice and we have this pork over the rice, and there's plenty for everybody. Now, in this situation though, when it comes to meat in general, I'm scaling way back on the meat in general, right? So my portion that I would typically make now is going to be at least halved. Really what I'm probably going to do is that quart size now is in 3. And I'm going to make meals that are spread out to where it's not chunks of meat giving it to the family, but it's meat circulated into a stew, a soup, a rice, fry, stir fry, that type of thing. Okay, so I can make that meat last longer. People are still getting meat, but it's distributed in a different way. And you as the cook or whoever is cooking is cutting back on those initial ingredients that they're using for things. Okay. So you're planning that all out. You're making those rules known on a calendar, right? And then you're taking that calendar and then you're meal planning. What are my meals, right? What do I plan to make? What are my easy go-to meals, my one-pot meals, my very few ingredient type meals like I just talked about, where you can easily cut back an ingredient, and really essentially nobody even is any of the wiser. Your family isn't going to know. You're giving them rice with meat in it. They're not going to realize that I've saved so much meat by not giving them, their own individual scooped portion of that meat like normally we would do. Okay. Okay. Next thing is, after you menu plan, right? Plan out your menus, plan out your actual, what are you guys eating? Okay. Then you're going to meal prep. You're basically going to do anything you can do now to get ahead of this, right? Maybe that's frozen meals. Maybe that's you make some crock pot meals, you bag them up, you vac seal them, you put them in the freezer. Maybe that's measuring out, shakes. Hey, I know that there's going to be 5 of us having a shake on this morning. You're going to put that exact amount of shake mix in a vac seal bag, a Mylar bag, vac seal it up and have it to the side. And then, you just break that out and it's already measured out perfectly for everybody to have one large shake. whatever it is, you're going to meal prep it. You're going to do it ahead of time. And there's a few reasons why we do that. But if you do it now, you're not thinking about you're doing your measurements of your rice, you're doing your measurements of your things, you're meal prepping it. And then later you're just cooking it. You're not having to think like, oh, am I making too much? Am I making not enough? You're making it exactly the amount that has been already done and is prepped for your family for a meal. Okay. What else did I put in here? Canning soups, one pot bags, frozen meals, MREs. MREs is huge. I'm talking about homemade MREs. If you can afford the real ones still, because they're just going up crazy in price, then God bless you, get those. Get them if you can afford it. But if not, make MREs, okay? We make MREs for each person, and that MRE feeds the person for the whole day. That's very easy to do because you can prep it, vacuum seal it, it's done, and then later you can take those out. The idea I like about MREs is you take a tub, right? Plastic, storage tub. Everyone gets one in their room. You guys as a family have a fun day, have a Saturday where you guys are making MREs, and then you vac sealed and they go in those tubs. And so everybody kind of keeps their MREs, their emergency MREs in their rooms, right? In a tub, in their closet, under their bed, wherever it will fit. But I like that idea because, that's something that you can throw to that kid. It's going to feed them all day and you don't have to worry about, virtually anything, right? It's got snacks, it's got the meals, it's got everything. And we build ours where that's actually not the 2 meals that I'm talking about that you would ration, but that's technically 3 meals, right? Technically there's enough in there, and that we count the calories, everything. So it's nutritional wise, you know exactly how many calories you're getting in it. You know that there's snacks in there, there's drinks in there, there's 3 meals, if you will, right? There's something for breakfast, something for lunch, something for dinner. And so if you can put those together, that really can make some sense, okay? Can be not expensive at first, but kind of daunting in the sense of once you figure out the things, the everyday things that will be in all of them, then you buy those things in bulk so that you have those box things. So like when I was saying, we had tuna packs in all of them. I got a case off of Amazon of mayonnaise, of mustard, of relish, right? And so the packs that have tuna, would also get those packs. All the packs had coffee, instant coffee, ready to go in them, instant juice packs, that type of stuff. So I would just buy those things in bulk so that I could fill these MREs. So you'll get smart on how you're doing it, but this is very, very smart homemade MREs. And for rationing and getting ready for rationing, it could be a very, very viable thing. Now, if you have 10, 15 people in your family, maybe not, right? It takes a long time. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much work. And it's just easier to do your one pot meals. I totally understand that. Do what's going to work for you and your family. And think through your preservation. So I mentioned frozen meals, right? So you could do like a crock pot meal ahead of time, bag them up, put them in the freezer. So let's just say you did that and you had let's just say 2 weeks worth. You had 14 meals that you did like that. You did soups, you made something homemade in the crock pot, you put it in a bag, you froze it, right? So it's super easy. You just pull it out, warm it up, it's done. It's already measured, so you know exactly what everybody's getting for rationing. That's the point. You could write on the baggie, hey, rationed amount is 2 cups of this soup, right? Everybody gets 2 cups of this soup, right? And that's it. But it's already measured, ready to go. The only thing is that you have to prepare, for other things that could happen, like grid down, you lose that soup now. You have to eat it first. Maybe you can can it, right? Take it out, defrost it, can it. If the canning is your plan for not losing the food in your refrigerator and freezer. You just have to have a plan and know what you're doing so that you're not doing work that's wasted effort, right? So just think that through and think your preservation through when you're doing things. Again, that's why I love MREs, okay? Next thing is perishables first, right? So when you ration, or when we get to a point where there's nothing left in the store, you want to cut back, but you want to make things last as long as possible. And your perishable items need to be ate because you don't want to lose them and then you lost an opportunity to eat something, right? So don't just be going to the MREs, for example, right? If you were now, there's no food in the store, everybody's panicking, your meal should be off of anything that is fresh, that you know is going to go bad. Any fresh fruit you guys have out, fresh stuff that's in your refrigerator. Yes, if you still have power, that, you know, hey, you have power and that's fine. That stuff's not going to go bad. But just keep in mind that stuff is going to go bad in general, whether you have power or not, right? So you're going to need to eat those perishable items first before they go bad, right? So, you know, eating the bread products, you know, eating your fresh fruits, anything that's fresh fruits and vegetables or meats that you have open in the refrigerator, right? Making your meals, you know, around that stuff first, right? Very, very important. Next thing I have is employ precise measuring and track your calories. So it's going to be important that one, like I mentioned already a couple times, is that you're measuring stuff out. When you're meal prepping, you can measure it out and have that stuff so that when you pull it, you already know. And you've maybe written down, like I said, the soups, 2 cups per person, right? Or if it's a rice or whatever meal you made, right, that you said you were going to make, you know exactly what is the amount of food that everybody's getting. Hey, they're getting 1.5 cups of cooked rice, and I'm making this canned stew or this canned whatever, and they're going to get a little bit of, everybody's going to get a little bit of that, right? Like, hey, this can will let everybody get, you know, I don't know, a 1/4 cup of this to throw over the rice. I don't know, right? My point is measure stuff out. Do not overcook stuff. Know exactly what everybody's getting. And then when it's done, it's cooked, you're measuring it out. Okay. You're making the plates, the bowls, whatever. You're measuring it out for everybody. There's no more, hey, come get dinner, and everybody's scooping out what they want. There's no more of that. Okay. You are getting your vessel, whatever plate, bowl, cup that they're eating out of that you've put together, and you're measuring everything out. Okay. So that it is fair. And then tracking calories, that's going to be important. And that's just for nutritional stuff. You know, people are going to go from eating all types of stuff to all of a sudden going, oop, and only eating certain things. And that is going to be crazy for people's bodies. They're going to be going through different things, and mentally, physically, it's just going to be important that you're tracking so that you know you're at least hitting the calorie wicket on what they're getting, what is needed for the day for them to be able to go out and do their thing. And just making sure that you're tracking that as much as you can, right? Another thing is stock up on your gastro, your upset tummy, your diarrhea, your backed up type stuff, fiber, different digestive type meds, right? All the things you need for, like, when you're backed up, you can't go to the bathroom, you know, what can you take to relieve that? You have real bad gas, okay? You have diarrhea, you have an upset stomach, you know, those types of meds you want to stack up on, because like I said, people's diets are immediately going to change. You have folks that eat out every single day, 3 times a day, and then they eat snacks all through the day, and then you take that person and you now throw them into, there is none of that no more. There is no restaurants, there is no fast food, there is no, right, the store hasn't been emptied, so there is no chips and stuff like that to get. There's no cookies and crackers and chips and snacky type stuff to get, right, unless you already had it in your house, okay? And so that's dangerous, right? A lot of people are like, well, that's bad stuff anyway for them. Yes, I understand that, but their bodies are already used to that. Your body is already used to whatever you eat. So you're used to eating those things, baby, and then zero, you don't have that anymore. That your body is going to be going through some things, trying to figure out what exactly you're doing to it, okay? Why are you depriving me of this? My body is used to getting a certain amount of salt or sugar or whatever, okay? Besides whether it was healthy or not, that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to convey to you in regards to what this is going to do to people when their bodies are accustomed to one thing, and all of a sudden that is stopped in its tracks, and they are now having to eat, real food, they don't have all those snacks and maybe all the soda and the this and the that, right? So just something to think about. Next thing you want to make sure you stock up on is multivitamins. Goes into the same idea, right? Making sure that you're still getting the certain amount of vitamin intake, nutrients that you need in your body, right? So very important to have a multivitamin at a minimum. Would not hurt to have extra vitamin C, vitamin D, some iron, different things, because again, let's say you pull back, hey, extreme, or you run out completely of meat, and now you're iron deficient. You need to have your different vitamins to help make sure that you're getting your stuff. Maybe there's no more milk, cheese, dairy products, and you haven't prepped that. Those people are going to be deficient in, let's say, calcium. So that is what I'm talking about. Get your supplements now, your vitamin supplements now, so that you can stay as healthy as possible during this time where things are clearly going to be changing, okay? Next thing I have is mind tactics, employ mind tactics. And that's stuff like smaller bowls, smaller plates, what you're serving the food on, right? In a cup, right? Serving it in a cup or a smaller bowl or a smaller plate. It's one thing to go from, like I said, the kids can just come in and scoop, and they're used to, like, they scoop, everybody gets their food, and then there's food left over, and maybe teenagers, they're like, oh, can I clean up the rest? And there's not going to be any more of that. It's literally going to be like, here's your bowl of food, and there's nothing else. And so that's going to be a challenge. Okay, for everybody, right? Even for you, you're like, oh, I'm like, this is gonna be easy. I can do this. I've been talking about it, thinking about it, planning it. I got this. Baby, you already know when you want something, you want something. And so it's gonna be difficult for everybody involved, okay? And it's gonna be your job to help get your family through that mentally and that mental struggle. And some of those things like that, you give them a small bowl, but that bowl's full. Then they're in their minds, they're like, okay, I'm being given enough. I have enough to eat. This is what I need. I'm okay, right? Instead of like, we're starving, right? Another thing is filling snacks, getting snacks, especially for kids. They're growing, they snack a lot. And so getting snacks that are filling, right? So nuts, dried fruit tends to be way more filling than fresh fruit. Obviously fresh fruit is good, right? But I'm just saying long term, nuts, dried fruit, any kind of granola bars, but good ones, right? Not those candy ones. I'm talking about like kind bars, like good hearty bars that fill you up, okay? Breakfast idea snacks, like, having oatmeal instead of cereal, right? Filling things, okay? You got to keep those bellies full, and that's going to be the trick to preparing and having those snacks so that they're filled and content in between the 2 meals that you plan to do a day versus 3. You could do 3, but I'm telling you, it's smart. You're going to have to cut back. One, because I get this. People are going to be like, well, I have 2 years worth of food. We're fine. Our plan is that we're not going to cut down to 3 meals a day. And we're just going to maybe cut down the meal amount, right? But we're going to do 3 meals a day. What I would caution you about is, one, you don't know how long it will last. So 2 years might not be enough, okay? And second of all, you have to be very careful what people see. And people will clearly be able to tell that you're eating. And especially if you're eating a lot. So if you go from here, I'm pleasantly plump, I clearly eat. And if I don't cut back and I start to visibly look like, okay, I'm not eating as much as before, right? My face needs to be thinner. overall, right, you need to cut back because you do not want people to realize they are really eating over there. Like they haven't changed at all, right? Their bodies haven't, they're looking as plump as they've ever looked. Okay. And so I would say to think it through before you're like, well, we have enough and we're not going to ration, we're not going to do that. That's why we prepped, because a lot of preppers will be like, well, that's why I prepped so we wouldn't have to ration. And that's fine. If that's your game plan and that's what you want to do, and that was the point of prepping, absolutely. I'm not saying starve your family, right? And ration to the extreme, right? I'm just saying be cautious and make sure that you're adapting in a way that will make you guys survive, overall survival, because that's the game, right? That's the whole point of this, is the overall survival. Okay. It's not to brag that I have 2 years and I'm not going to stop eating. I'm finna have my steak, 7 days a week. And I don't care that the world is dying outside. Right. It's going to be a fine balance, a fine balance. And it's going to be very, very difficult. Not to mention how you might feel, not everybody, but how you might feel knowing you're eating food and people are starving outside, right? Even if you're cutting back, but you're getting that bowl of food, right? To be grateful for what you have, because there is going to be people that are struggling and don't have food, and whatever the case may be. Okay, it's not going to be pretty. Next thing last thing I have, and then I'm going to get into 3 tips for you, and that's get your bread ingredients, right? Being able to have the ability to make some tortillas, make some rolls, make some bread, and have that small element to add to your meals, that's super, super filling. So imagine if I'm making bread on a regular basis. It doesn't cost me that much at all to make it. I'm making a small, just a small loaf of bread. It doesn't hardly take me any ingredients to make that, you guys. I make a soup, a stew, whatever, that bowl of rice with a little bit of meat in it that I told you, that small bowl. And it's only maybe, 2 cups worth of food. And then I give them even 1 slice of bread with some butter to go with that. Super filling, okay? We'll make those not be so hard with those 2 meals, okay? Some people might get down to like, hey, we're going to just snack a little bit, but we're going to just have 1 solid meal a day. I mean, this is going to get hardcore where you're going to have families do that, whether it's because they don't have that much or they're really, really trying to make it stretch because they're very fearful that they are going to run out and they do not want their family to starve. And 1 meal a day is better than no meals a day. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to look like, this isn't like a just black and white plan. This is going to look different for everybody, okay? Because you have different family sizes, you have different dynamics, you have different amount of food that will be in the person's house when you go to do this. It's going to look different for everybody, okay? Next thing I have, tips, 3 tips for you, okay? And then we're going to close this out. First thing is, I want you to prepare, do these things, start employing these things, but I want you to think about what you would do if you had to execute any of the things in your plan during grid down. I want you to think about no power and how that plays into your plan. So we talked about the frozen meals. That's great meal prepping, measured out, put it in your freezer, and then boom, you can just pull it out and it says right on it the ration number. Great plan, great idea, great everything. But again, if there's no power and you haven't planned for that, that's a total waste of your money and resources. So planning for that, planning for cooking, right? You have these great ideas. You've got this calendar, this meal planning, you've got everything done, and the power goes out and now you don't have a way to cook this food, right? So at least have been thinking, hey, what is my off-grid plan for cooking the food? Do I have the fuel needed for that? What does that look like? So just think about grid down in the sense of this plan once you put it together, and then get things you need to be able to still execute the plan even with a no power situation. My number 2 tip is this doesn't apply to just food. Today I'm talking about food because obviously food is the number one thing that you should be stockpiling right now. It's our number one concern right now for me and my family as well. And that's food. But this goes beyond food, right? This goes to, body soap and wasting things, right? So you're going to have to get used to rationing stuff. And this is, you're going to have to do this with your kids, right? Rationing soap and dish soap and laundry soap. And basically remember, this starts, whatever you have in your home is whatever you have in your home. And again, you could have, let's say, dish soap for a year. But if you don't ration it and you're just in there willy-nilly and the kids are in there washing dishes willy-nilly and just soaps everywhere and just wasteful, that could be a problem, taking things and making them last longer, right? Taking, let's say, we're just talking about dishes, the scrubby for dishes, right? One scrubby, you use it, right? Starts to stink after a while from being in water and trying to dry out and that whole process back and forth, right? And what do you just throw it away, right? Baby, you better start getting those and cutting them in 4, okay? You don't need the whole big scrubby, okay? We're so used to all these fancy things. We don't need that. You only need a little piece of that has some scrubby on it to wash the dishes, okay? So things like that, you're going to have to think about rationing and how do you make things last longer, right? That's why we talk about Great Depression things and we talk about reusing tinfoil and reusing things. Because again, whatever you have in your house is whatever you have in your house, right? I might have 4 rolls of tinfoil. I'm still going to save the tinfoil, right? I'm not going to be like, well, I'm just going to throw it away because I have 4 rolls. No. You need to ration it and make it last as long as possible because you do not know how long a situation is going to be. Or for that matter, if a product even ends up coming back ever, okay? Once that business shutters, you have no idea if they can even come back, okay? Last thing I have is practice, right? Take a week of that meal planning and just practice it for the week. Hey family, this week 3 of our meals are going to be shakes. We're going to do these shakes. We're going to make it fun. Everybody's going to make a shake. We're going to see how filling it was. What did it taste like? Maybe we need a different flavor. Does it have enough protein in it to do its purpose, right? But we're going to do this. I'm not making dinner tonight. We're having shakes. Okay. You've got to see if these things work and what, they like so that you can, while you have time now, can switch some things out. Maybe you get a certain shake mix and everybody hated it. And you have a big thing. You've been stocking it for months, right? And you guys go to taste it and nobody in the house likes it. That would suck, right? At the end of the day, they're going to drink it if they don't want to starve, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. My point is if you practiced and you tried that stuff, you would know before you bought all these containers of protein shake that nobody wants to, drink, okay? Second thing, hey, and you don't even have to tell your family, just, hey, 3 days a week, I'm not going to put meat in the meal. I'm going to make a delicious meal. I'm going to measure it out. Right? I'm going to have it already measured. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to give it to them. See if it filled them up. See if they enjoyed it and it didn't have any meat. See if they liked it. Was it filling? Spaghetti with no meat. Just see their reaction. I'm sure they're going to notice there's no meat in this. Maybe they don't, right? But was it filling? Measure it out in a bowl. See how that worked. What did it look like in the smaller size bowls? Whatever the case may be. Practice what you're doing so that you're not caught off guard, right? Do some stuff, right? Make some soups, make some stuff in the crock pot. Make the stuff they already love, right? Make the stuff that that they already love in the crock pot stuff. Put it in a bag, vac seal it real good, put it in the freezer. Just do 1 per week and just start stacking them up, okay? Or if you're worried about grid down, don't put them in the freezer. Make it and pressure can it. Make a soup and pressure can it, okay? Just start pressure canning soups and meals that that they love and then make the jars, and then pull one of those jars out and practice. How far could you make that jar go? What did you put with it? If you halved it, you make a big thing, a thing of rice, and you half that jar, and everybody got a little bit on the rice. What did it look like? Did it look like it was enough in the bowl? Was it filling for you when you ate it? Was it enough food? Did you feel satisfied? Did you feel content? Right? At the end of the day, when we're starving, you'll be so thankful for the smallest of things, right? Get your chickens now. Could you imagine people are starving and you're bringing in, even if you barely have any chickens and you're only bringing in 3 eggs a day, right? Because like us, we plan to just have the 3 chickens. Let's just say you're getting 3 eggs a day. If you're starving, that egg is life, baby. Life. Little salt and pepper, your life, okay? You take 1 chicken breast, 1 big size, good size chicken breast, like right? You cook that nice, and you cut a piece of that off for everybody to have. If you're not eating, that is life. That is like, you're so thankful for that piece of chicken that you guys are all sharing, okay? A good example is, I'm just going to say it again, you guys. It's one of my favorite shows, is Naked and Afraid. If you're still hanging in with me, thank you. Naked and Afraid. And you watch them catch an itty bitty fish, tiny, and they're sharing it and they're eating it. And it's like life. It's the best thing ever. And they're out there with no salt, no pepper, no nothing. They just cook up that little bitty fish that has hardly anything on it. And it's life, okay? And so people are going to be thankful for what they have, right? But it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be way harder than I could ever convey to you on this video, ever, right? It's going to be difficult. But if you try to prepare and do the things and everything you can to make it a little bit better, then hopefully it will be a little bit better, because this is all about quality of life and surviving, your family surviving. So if you're still here, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. There was something on my schedule, you guys. Tomorrow's Thursday and then Friday. Oh, my child has state testing, so I'm not sure exactly if I will have my videos out on time tomorrow and Friday. I definitely will still have videos. I just don't know if they'll make them on time, okay? So I'll let you know, though, in the morning if it looks like I'm tracking for it to be on time or not. And blessings from my bear cave to yours. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Get the things done. Get going on your plan. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.